Hey Zoobox Nation, it's Mike here, and today instead of talking about nonsense, we're going to be talking about sports. I want to talk to you all about the Baltimore Ravens releasing Earl Thomas. This kind of surprised me a little bit, just because of, you got Earl Thomas. Now, I know, and everybody knows, that Earl Thomas is not the same player that he once was, but he's still a good safety. I wouldn't say he's a great safety, but he's still a good free safety. And if we're just talking about free safeties, we're not talking about strong safeties, we're talking about free safeties. Earl Thomas, he's still a top 10. I mean, I would say that in the free safety, he's a top 10. He's definitely a top 10 free safety. Now, of all safeties, he's a top 15. I mean, he's in there. He's not the best. He's not top 5 or anything like that, but he's good. He's a good player. And, what shocks me is that they released him. They were going to pay him $10 million this year, which it's not a lot. I mean, that's kind of what it is a lot, but for him, Earl Thomas, $10 million this year, I mean, that's not like, oh my goodness, that's shocking. Last year was shocking when they paid him $22 million on that uploaded front contract. It was like, holy crap, they're paying this guy that what? How much? Like, for what? Like, he's not Jamal Adams. He's not Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, yeah, he's Earl Thomas, but he's not the older, he's not the Earl Thomas of the 2014, 2015, 2016 years. I mean, he's a little bit older. Not that he's, like I said, he's not bad. Like, he's not bad. But the shocking point is that, okay, they release him. I mean, because the Baltimore Ravens are like set up to win. The Baltimore Ravens are set up to be a Super Bowl contender this year. Like, they got everything going for them. Like, their defense is stacked. They have an awesome running game. They got Lamar Jackson at the QB, still young, still underneath his rookie contract. They have good tight ends. I mean, they have a good offensive line. They're solid. Like, they're a team that's like, okay, this team could win the Super Bowl. Now they lose Earl Thomas, which isn't, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, but how they lost him, when like all the guys supposedly, a lot of the guys, not all of them, but a lot of the guys on the team said, hey, this guy's got to go, coach. Like, they went up to their coach and said, hey, hardball, this guy's got to go. Like, we can't, he can't be in the locker room with us. That's amazing. So then that makes me lead to, okay, so they release Earl Thomas, whatever. All, the team members don't want him. They release him in Seattle. They released him here in Baltimore. We heard about, and on Zoobox, if you go back and listen, I forget what episode it is, but one of the episodes we even touch on Earl Thomas's, I don't even know what you would call, I guess his domestic dispute that he got into with his wife when him and his brother like went on some tangent and some binge of freaking Airbnbs in the middle of the pandemic and going out and sleeping with, I guess, hookers or whatever. But we talked about it. We touched about, okay, and now this leads up to, okay, so what's going on? So now the release leads. And we talked about him having his personal issues, and then he had issues. Now he's having issues in the locker room. What's going on with Earl Thomas? It's kind of like this. It's almost like an Antonio Brown. It's like, what's going on with these guys? And here's a legitimate question that people aren't asking, that people aren't even saying out there. One thing that I would want to know, because we see guys, and I guess Antonio Brown had a lot more of this, but Earl Thomas, if you remember anything about Earl Thomas in Seattle, he was like the quiet guy, never got in trouble. You thought you thought of Earl Thomas as like a leader. You thought of Earl Thomas as somebody that just shows up, does his job, and does it extremely well. Somebody that you would want on your team. I thought of Earl Thomas in Seattle back when they were the Legion of Boom as like the one guy on that team. Him and like Bobby Wagner were like the guys that were like sturdy, like, guys that, they weren't going to speak out. They were just going to do their jobs. And now all this stuff is coming up with Earl Thomas, and it's like, okay, where is this all coming from? Because this was never before. Like, Earl Thomas never had these kind of issues. So where is this all coming from? Earl Thomas used to be like people, the one complaint people said about Earl Thomas is that he doesn't say enough. He doesn't speak enough. He's not vocal enough, and now he's arguing and getting into fights in the practice field and releasing videos. I mean, here's the thing. In the NFL, you cannot, if you're a player, you cannot release practice film. You cannot do that. Like, you're not allowed to do that. He's releasing this, taking it down off his Instagram page. So you got all this going on. Is this a case of him having traumatic brain injury? Is that the issue here? Is something going on deeper that we need to know about? Because he's having all of these irrational, kind of just impulsive behaviors that he never used to have. That's what I would be interested in. That's what nobody's talking about. I haven't heard anybody mention that. I haven't heard one person say, hey, does Earl Thomas have some kind of brain damage from playing football? And if it is, should we look into it? Should we sit back and be like, okay, let's look into this. Why is he all of a sudden out of nowhere just like doing all like these impulsive behaviors and, flying off the handle? Like, that should be looked into to me. To me, that should be looked into. And he should get evaluated. I mean, that's what makes sense to me. And I don't know if, one of the things that the Baltimore Ravens did is how they released him. They released him that, he was detrimental to the team, meaning that he was causing too much problems to the team, not his play. They didn't release him because of his play. They released him because of his behavior. But could that behavior be linked back to traumatic brain injury? Could that be leaked back and Earl could have a case of saying, hey, this actually wasn't me. This actually wasn't what I wanted to do, but because of my injury, because of me playing football, because of me getting hit in the head so much, I have these insane impulsions that I cannot control. Because we all know that's true. With brain injury, that can be true. You can just do these impulsive behaviors that you would never do before. So if that is the case, I mean, if I was Earl Thomas, I would almost go at that angle and be like, hey, look, I was detrimental to the team, yes, but it wasn't my fault. I have significant brain injury, and he should get, that's the thing, he should get some kind of scan to see if he does have traumatic brain injury. I mean, that's what he should look into. And if he does, the next question is, okay, should Earl Thomas keep on playing football? And if he does have brain injury, the next team, are they going to be reliable for that? And also, like, what's the best for Earl Thomas? That's what people have to realize. It's like, okay, maybe playing football is the best for him, but maybe it isn't. Maybe he's got so much brain damage. And I'm not saying that he does have brain damage. I'm just saying if he does, maybe the best thing is for him not to play football anymore. I mean, he's made enough money. He's had a Hall of Fame career. He's won a Super Bowl, been to 2 Super Bowls. He's been All-Pro. He's been to Pro Bowls. I mean, this guy's a Hall of Famer. This guy's part of one of the best defenses in the 21st century. I mean, arguably the Legion of Boom is one of the best defenses ever. But especially in the 21st century, I mean, maybe only the Baltimore Ravens. That would be the only defense that would match it. But if Earl Thomas does sign with another team, I wonder what team is going to pick him up. There's a lot of speculation of the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know if the Dallas Cowboys would be the right fit. I don't know if they have the leadership to bring in a person like Earl Thomas, and especially he's having all these impulsive behaviors. I will say this, a good team that nobody's talking about that should pick him up would be either the Green Bay Packers. I mean, I think the Green Bay Packers could use somebody like Earl Thomas in their backfield to help with their secondary. Or I think the New England Patriots would be a perfect fit for a guy like Earl Thomas. I mean, the New England Patriots, they have lost so many people. They have lost Daron Harmon, Jamie Collins. They've lost Kyle Van Noy. They lost Dante Hightower. They lost Patrick Chung. I mean, they've lost so many pieces, so many. And you're saying, hey, Mike, none of those guys are really that good. They're not, but they were all key players, and they lost so many of them. I think Earl Thomas would fit in good there. I think Earl Thomas could go in and actually have somebody like Bill Belichick say, hey, look, we're not going to be dealing with that kind of behavior. We'd love to have you here. We know that you can still play. We'll do a 1-year deal because Earl Thomas can still play. And when I said that Earl Thomas was only a top 15 safety in the NFL, that doesn't mean that Earl Thomas can't come back with a different mindset and be a top 7 safety, top 5 safety in the NFL. He could have a season like that. I'm not saying that he can't. I'm just saying the last 2 to 3 seasons, he hasn't been that. That's what I mean when I say that. But I think he could go into New England and really help the Patriots secure up their secondary a little bit, even though we have a very good secondary, but given to what we've lost, he could really be a huge piece to us as the Patriots, because let's be real, you all know I'm a Patriot fan. You all know that I call the New England Patriots my team because they are my team. I'm a fan. I'm sorry. Too bad. But I would love to see Earl Thomas either go to the Green Bay Packers or the New England Patriots. And I can see the 49ers too. I can see the 49ers taking him in, and because he's played with Richard Sherman, so I think Richard Sherman could talk to him if he ever did get out of control. I could see that too. And Richard Sherman could kind of coach him along the way and help him out because they were friends in Seattle. I don't know if friends, but they were definitely teammates. But I do not think he should go to the Dallas Cowboys. I think if you put somebody like Earl Thomas in the Dallas Cowboys, his ego's going to get too big. It's going to get out of control. And that team is young. Yes, they have a lot of talent. The Cowboys have a lot of talent, but most of their talent is very, very young. Dak Prescott, young. Ezekiel Elliott, young. Amari Cooper, middle age, I guess. But who's their leaders? Like I guess some of their offensive line, but I don't know. And then on defense, you have a bunch of young players. You don't have anybody that's like been in the league 10 years. Maybe they do. Griffin, who they signed, but I don't know if he's been there long enough to be that type of leader. I really think you need somebody that's been in the organization for a while. And I don't know if the Dallas Cowboys would be the best fit for him. I really don't. I don't think so. I can see the 49ers, I can see the Green Bay Packers, and I can see the New England Patriots. And I don't think the Texans are going to be a good fit for him either, because I think Coach Bill O'Brien, I don't like him. I wouldn't want to play for the guy, and I think he's had I think he's had a lot of problems with a lot of different players. Coach Bill O'Brien had a problem with Tom Brady. Who has a problem with Tom Brady? But that's just what I'm saying. I don't think the Texans would be good. I think their coach is just too much. I think he's too authoritative. Authoritative. I don't think that Bill O'Brien would be the right fit for him. But what I want to know from you, Zubox, I want to know your teams that you think Earl Thomas should play for, and I also want to know if you think this has something to do with brain injury. I want to know if you think Earl Thomas has some kind of brain injury from playing football, and could that be the reason why he's had these kind of impulsive behaviors? It would be interesting. It would be really interesting, because almost if it is that reason, it's almost like you can't really blame the guy. I guess you can, but if it's like, it's hard for people to understand this, because they say, nah, man, that's no way. But there have literally been studies and cases that show that people that have traumatic injury to the brain, sometimes they'll just do things what they don't even realize that they're doing. And they just have this impulse that takes over. So that would be interesting. And almost like, okay, well, if that is the case, you can't really blame him for having these flare-ups, because what I know of Earl Thomas, I've never heard of anything like this. I never heard of anything like this in Seattle for years. And I don't know why all of a sudden this kind of behavior would just be popping up out of nowhere. But let me know. Please, I want to know from you. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe to our channel, follow us along, and don't forget to listen to our podcast. Talk about the craziest stuff on there, people. You'll like it.